Some of you may know that in real life survival situations, there are 5 C's that you need in your kit. However, like survival situations, as DM, you are placed in tough situations that require you to adapt. Therefore, we created the 5 C's of being a good Dungeon Master.
But what are those 5 C's?
The 5 C's to know to be a good Dungeon Master are core assumption, credible threat, characters, challenges, and creativity. As a beginning Dungeon Master, knowing these things are like having tools in your toolbox. Using each of these will help you take your game to the next level.
As you build your world, keep these tools in mind so that you are getting the most out of your world. They will help you maintain consistency and the attention of your players by helping you create a lush and rich background for your world.
Knowing that your world is overpopulated with monsters and the gods have little to do with the day-to-day activities of mortals starts to build your story that you're going to tell. And that brings us to the first tool for your toolbox, core assumptions.
But what are core assumptions? Core assumptions are the unwritten rules by which the core world operates. Through asking questions about your world, it will help define the history of your world.
Exactly. Core assumptions are the bones on which you build your story upon. Establishing a clear and concise core assumptions as you create your world allows playing the game to be effortless, therefore saving time and reducing stress on the Dungeon Master. Furthermore, we'll peer into some of the core assumption questions that is asked when forming your world.
Determine if magic is common in your world. Is every town ruled by a wizard, or is it so rare that even a potion is a precious item to be held on to and cherished? Examine the impact of God's interactions with the day-to-day life of mortals. How much of your world is explored?
As a Dungeon Master, explore these core assumptions and look to expand your world with more. As you define them, your world becomes fuller and richer. Also gives you a baseline to work from so your story stays on track.
If you're looking for more information about core assumptions, check out the article Key Elements for Beginning Dungeon Masters. We have it linked in the description. Now that you know what made your world before the heroes arrived, let's talk about the next point, credible threat.
Looking to confront your adventures with a menace worthy of their time, then you need the second of the 5 C's, credible threat, which we define as any event or person that draws the adventurer's attention.
Either it's an epic monster threatening the world, or just some lackeys terrorizing a village. Providing the heroes with a reason to get out of bed in the morning is the primary function of the credible threat. Whether it's the local kobolds using magic to raid the nearby villages, or the appearance of the first dragons in 1,000 years.
You want to think credible threats as plot points, not just enemies. While the enemy can be dangerous, if the mention of the enemy's name doesn't drive the heroes to action, he's just another foe to defeat, not a credible threat. So how do we create a credible threat?
Well, first, we establish a motive for the threat. Next, look into the overarching goal of the threat. Then, introduce the threat to the characters. If we utilize principles from our core assumptions, this will aid in the creation process of your credible threat.
For example, a character discovers that his family heirloom is missing and realizes that a thief he encountered earlier that day is the culprit. Without the heirloom that identifies the character's bloodline, the character will never be able to claim his birthright.
Therefore, in this example, we identified the motive as the missing heirloom. The overarching goal for the character is to claim his birthright and cannot be completed without the heirloom. Furthermore, introducing the threat to the player via a thief pilfering the heirloom calls the player to action.
Exactly. Anything that motivates a hero to action is a credible threat. Credible threats will help drive your story forward by encouraging the characters to take action. Credible threats are many times the villains or monsters. However, not all non-player characters are out to get the player characters. Therefore, let us look into the different definitions of characters and how they relate to your game world.
Essentially, there are 2 kinds of characters in Dungeons & Dragons. The first are player characters, which, as the name suggests, are run by the players. The other is non-player characters, which is everyone else, and you, as a Dungeon Master, have the joy of controlling them. Both character types hold equal, although different, importance.
The player character's actions will help write the collective story. Therefore, the world you create needs to apply to them. If your story is about saving a kidnapped princess from an evil dragonborn wizard, but your players want to start and run a blacksmith shop, you're not writing a collective story.
Provide details that will guide players to react to your world. There are many times the players will want to do what they want regardless of your plans. It's your job to continue their story fitting into your world. Remember, it's your world, but it's their story. Utilize the PC's background to bring about information that will drive the characters to action. Continuously breathe life into the world based on the actions or the players. Build up the PC's families or friends.
Non-player characters are important because they provide the PC's direction and motivation to react. NPCs are supporting actors within the world, and NPCs help give your world life.
If every time the heroes enter a town all they do is sell loot and sleep through the night, they'll miss out on all the clues and legends that fill the land, and all the adventures that go with it. Without deep and entertaining non-player characters, the heroes have no reason to spend time talking to people in town. Not all NPCs need substantial depth, however. Provide key NPCs with bonds, ideas, flaws to flesh out their background.
You may have a hard time getting your players to stay focused and on task. Every non-player character is your chance to breathe life into the story, and NPCs help lead those heroes towards their final goal. NPCs are allies and enemies alike. Some may come to players' aid while others look to cause ruin to the characters. It is your job as Dungeon Master to provide the player characters with opportunities and challenges.
One of the many tools the Dungeon Master has that brings the game to existence is challenges. These are the things that keep the players up at night. Creating complex NPCs, devious monsters, or a variety of tasks that requires the players to stop and think is used as challenges.
As the characters move across the deep water, they can see something moving beneath the surface. Do they continue on, or do they go around adding days to their trip? Challenges are not just combat. It can be threat of combat, or a trap, even a puzzle. Anything that causes the heroes to be on guard and take a moment to think before they act. The heroes attempt to cross a deep chasm, but as they approach it, they can feel the wind pick up, knowing crossing the old rickety rope bridge may be impossible.
Making your players rethink their plan or think one up in the first place is the reason Dungeon Masters use challenges. It adds spice to the story, and it reminds the players that not everything is safe and warm. As a Dungeon Master, you can use challenges to give the players hints as to the dangers that soon await them.
After the heroes cross the deep water using small boats they found a little bit up the shoreline, they enter the cave they have been searching for and discover a sea hag waiting for them. The challenge of creatures in the deep water was a slight foreshadowing of what was to come.
Challenges can also be used to keep the heroes on their toes. As the heroes start to cross the old rickety rope bridge, the rogue starts to move his foot when he feels a strange pressure on his leg. He looks down to find a tripwire. He quickly moves to disarm the trap, preventing the bridge from collapsing.
In this case, the heroes will slow their progress and be more mindful of possible traps and pitfalls, which brings us to the final tool, creativity.
The final C for your toolbox is creativity. As Dungeon Master, the more you add to the descriptions you give the players, the more you draw them into the story. Creating distraction to lead the PCs down the wrong tunnel, or adding that extra description of the befuddled old wizard near the fireplace at the inn will provide players the opportunity to seek further answers. Where do you get your inspiration, though?
I get my information from everything around me. TV shows, movies, and it's like movies, books I read. Anything can lead you into it's like ideas of your next adventure. When I first started DMing, I was always worrying that my ideas are too much like the movie or TV show or the book I just read. But then I soon realized that these are good stories and they should be retold.
So you just put your own twist on them. So as you go through your day, keep a notebook nearby and jot down ideas as they come to you. They can and will come from anywhere. Don't overthink them, just jot them down in their raw form. When you go back and read your notes, they will change and swirl in your mind and become something for you to use in the story.
Again, the 5 C's to know to be a good Dungeon Master are core assumptions, credible threat, characters, challenges, and creativity. Understanding the core assumptions of a world will give the initial breath of life. Look into each player character's background and add NPCs that are both rivals and allies. These NPCs will continue to build on the base world.
Perhaps, from those NPCs, you will have a potential credible threat that will attract the characters to investigate. Look to understand each of the players' play style. If you're unsure of their style, check out the article, Know Your D&D Player Types. Knowing the players can help you determine challenges that fit perfectly with their playstyle. Use a variety of resources to help with inspiring creativity.
As a beginning Dungeon Master, utilizing these basic DM tips will aid in creating your next game session. Moreover, each of these will help the Dungeon Master fill out his story and keep his players' attention. Using these in your world creation will help you write a better story for your players to get entwined in. What DM tips do you use to keep your story moving forward?
Don't forget to smash that subscribe button and hit the like and the bell so you'll be notified as new videos get uploaded.